This week, Cancer, you are going to face 11 decisions that could quietly reshape the direction of your entire life. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly what each one is, why it matters, and how to move through it with confidence instead of fear. There is something building right now. You can probably feel it already. That low hum beneath the surface of your days, the sense that things are shifting, that a chapter is ending and another one is pressing against the door, waiting to be let in. You are not imagining it. The energy around your sign right now is deeply active, deeply serious, and pointing directly towards some of the most important crossroads you have stood at in a long time. These are not small, everyday choices. These are the kind of decisions that, when you look back in 5 or 10 years, you will remember clearly where you were when you made them, how your hands felt, whether your heart was steady or shaking. Some of these decisions will feel uncomfortable. Some will ask you to choose yourself in ways you have not been used to. Some will challenge old habits, old beliefs, old loyalties. But every single one of them is arriving in your life because you are ready, even if ready does not feel the way you expected it to. Stay close. Every single one of these 11 decisions belongs to you. Decision 1. The first decision that Cancer will be pushed to make in the next 7 days is the decision about where your emotional energy is actually going. This one often hides in plain sight because it does not announce itself the way a big life moment does. It comes quietly through the accumulation of small daily moments. A conversation that left you feeling drained, a commitment that costs you more than it gives back, a habit of checking in on someone who rarely checks in on you. But this week, something in the air is going to make this visible in a way that is hard to ignore. You will look around at your life and you will feel it in your body before you think it in your mind, a kind of weariness that comes from pouring outward without enough coming back in. Cancer, you are a deeply giving sign. That is one of your most beautiful qualities. You feel things deeply, you care about people genuinely, and you are wired to nurture the lives around you. But this gift, when it runs without boundaries, slowly hollows you out. And this week, the universe is creating a moment of clarity around exactly that. Around where your emotional energy is flowing and whether that flow is sustainable, mutual, and good for your soul. The decision you are being pushed toward is not about cutting people off or becoming cold. It is a gentler and more honest question. Can you begin to value your own emotional resources the same way you value the people you give them to? Because the truth is, you cannot keep giving from an empty place. The best version of you, the one who lights up rooms, who holds space for others, who loves deeply and steadily, that version of you needs to be protected and replenished. This week, there will likely be at least one moment where you catch yourself about to give something, your time, your attention, your reassurance, out of habit rather than genuine choice. That is the moment. That is the decision point. And the growth available to you right now is in pausing at that moment, feeling it clearly, and asking yourself whether this is something you truly want to give or something you are giving because the alternative feels too uncomfortable. You are allowed to be intentional about your emotional energy. You are allowed to decide where it goes. In fact, your peace, your health, and your capacity to love well all depend on you learning to do exactly that. This decision may feel small when it first arrives, but its consequences ripple outward in ways you will feel for a long time. Choose yourself here, Cancer. Not out of selfishness, but out of wisdom. Decision 2. The second decision arriving for Cancer right now is the decision about a relationship that has been sitting in an undefined space for far too long. This might be a friendship that has slowly changed, but that neither of you has named honestly. It might be a romantic connection that keeps returning to the same unresolved question. It might be a family bond that carries unspoken tension beneath years of surface-level peace. Whatever form it takes for you personally, the energy this week is pushing you toward a moment of honest naming, toward deciding whether you are going to address what has been left unspoken or continue navigating around it. The thing about Cancer is that you often carry the emotional weight of relationships that others have not fully claimed. You sense the distance before it is admitted. You feel the shift before anyone talks about it. You hold the grief of something changing while still showing up as though everything is steady. This is a form of quiet strength, but it is also, over time, a form of quiet suffering. And this week something shifts. The weight becomes heavier to carry alone, and a part of you becomes ready to set it down. The decision is not necessarily about confrontation. Cancer does not thrive in aggressive exchanges or dramatic ultimatums. That is not your nature, and it is not the kind of energy that produces real resolution for you. The decision is more subtle than that. It is about whether you are willing to be honest in a gentle and clear way, about where you actually stand in a relationship that has been asking you to pretend it is something other than what it is. There is real courage in this. Naming something honestly means accepting that the response might not be what you hoped for. It means stepping out of the comfortable gray area where nothing has to be decided yet. But the cost of staying in that gray area is that you continue to invest your heart in something that has not been defined, and that costs you something every single day. This week you will feel a nudge. Sometimes it comes as a conversation that opens unexpectedly. Sometimes as a quiet moment alone where the clarity just arrives. When it comes, let yourself receive it. Let yourself feel what is true. And then when the time feels right, let that truth be expressed. Not perfectly, not without vulnerability, but honestly. That honest expression is the decision. And making it, even when it is hard, is what moves you forward. If what you're hearing feels accurate, imagine what could happen if you applied this energy intentionally for 21 consecutive days. That's exactly what the 21-day program in the pinned comment is built for. Daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you're tired of staying in the same cycle, this is your structure. Decision 3. The third decision Cancer is being pushed to make this week involves your living situation, your sense of home, and the environment where you spend most of your time. For Cancer, home is not just a place. It is a feeling, a refuge, the container for your inner world. When home feels right, you can handle almost anything. When home feels wrong, when it is cluttered, tense, unsafe, or simply misaligned with who you are becoming, it affects everything else. Your mood, your sleep, your creativity, your sense of possibility. This week, you are going to be confronted with something specific about your home environment that has been waiting for your attention. It might be a physical change that needs to happen, a space that needs to be cleared, a repair that has been postponed, a room that needs to be rearranged so it feels more like you. It might be a relational dynamic within a shared living situation that needs to be addressed honestly and with care. Or it might be a larger, more significant question about whether where you currently live is still aligned with the direction your life is moving in. Whatever form it takes, the decision here is about whether you are willing to treat your environment as sacred, as something that deserves your attention and care, not just your tolerance. Cancer, you are incredibly sensitive to the energy of your surroundings. You absorb the atmosphere of a room, a home, a space, more deeply than almost any other sign. And when that absorption is happening all day, every day, in an environment that does not feel aligned with your peace, it takes a real toll. This week, you are being invited to take one honest step toward making your environment better. Not a complete overhaul, just one clear, intentional decision. To address the thing you have been walking past. To have the conversation you have been avoiding. To take the action you have been postponing because it felt too complicated or too uncertain. Your home should feel like a sanctuary. Not perfect, but genuinely yours. That feeling is worth protecting, and this week it is calling you to protect it. Decision 4. The fourth decision arriving this week for Cancer is about money, specifically about a financial habit, pattern, or choice that you have been avoiding looking at directly. This is not about judgment. Cancer and financial conversations can sometimes feel emotionally loaded, because money often carries deep associations with security, with the past, with worthiness, with fear. But what is arriving right now is an opportunity to look clearly and calmly at one specific aspect of your financial life that needs a decision. It might be a spending pattern that does not align with what you say your priorities are. It might be a conversation about money you have been postponing with someone close to you. It might be a bill, a debt, an investment, a savings goal, something that has been sitting at the edge of your awareness asking for attention. The energy this week does not bring drama to this area of your life. It brings clarity, and that clarity is a gift, even when it asks you to look at something uncomfortable. The decision Cancer is being pushed toward here is simply the decision to look, to open the account, to run the numbers, to have the conversation, to admit to yourself what is true about where things stand financially, without the stories and the emotions that usually make it hard to see clearly. When you look clearly, you can decide clearly. And when you decide clearly, you can begin to build the kind of financial stability that actually matches the life you want to live. Cancer deserves security. You deserve to feel safe in your material world, not just your emotional one. This week, that safety is asking you to take one honest look and make one intentional choice. That is all, one look, one choice. But it could be the start of a completely different relationship with this area of your life. Decision 5. The fifth decision is about your body, about one specific thing your physical self has been communicating to you that you have been putting off. Cancer rules the stomach and the chest, the gut and the heart, and this is not coincidental. Your physical body holds your emotions in ways that are more literal than for most people. When you are anxious, your stomach tightens. When you are grieving, you feel it in your chest. When something is deeply wrong in your life, your body knows before your mind does, and it sends signals. This week, the decision is about whether you are going to listen to one of those signals that has been arriving for a while now. Whether it is about sleep, about the way you eat, about movement, about attention you carry in your shoulders or your neck, there is something your body has been asking for that you have been too busy, too distracted, or too hesitant to fully address. And the energy this week is asking you to stop and listen. This does not have to be a major undertaking. The decision might be as simple as going to bed 30 minutes earlier. It might be cutting out something you already know is not good for you. It might be adding something gentle and restorative. A walk, a stretch, a moment of quiet in the morning before the day begins. But there is one specific thing your body is asking for right now, and Cancer, you know what it is. The decision is whether you are going to give it what it needs or continue to manage around it. Your body is your home too. In fact, it is the most intimate home you will ever have. Taking care of it is not vanity or self-indulgence. It is wisdom, and it is love in its most grounded form. This week, let that love be one of the decisions you make for yourself. Decision 6. The sixth decision that Cancer faces this week lives in the space of creative expression and personal voice. The decision about whether you are going to continue holding back something that has been waiting to be expressed, or whether you are going to let it out. This might be a creative project you have been postponing. It might be a perspective or an opinion you have been afraid to share. It might be a gift, something you are genuinely good at, that you have been reluctant to offer more fully to the world. Cancer has a rich and complex inner life. You see and feel things deeply, and that depth creates a kind of quiet genius that often stays private, shared only with the people you trust most. But there is a moment in every Cancer life when the call to express more becomes louder than the fear of being seen. And for many of you, that moment is arriving right now. The decision here is not about becoming someone you are not. It is not about performing for others or seeking approval. It is about honoring the truth that what lives inside you has value. That your voice, your perspective, your creative instinct, your way of seeing things, these are worth more than being kept quietly to yourself. Something this week will create an opening for this. Someone will ask you a question. A door will appear. A moment of unexpected courage will arrive. And the decision is whether you step through it. You have something to offer, Cancer. Not in a grandiose way, in a quiet, genuine, deeply human way. And the world, in its small, ordinary moments, is often changed most by exactly that kind of offering. This week, one honest expression could be the beginning of something larger than you expect. Some people watch. Others transform. If you want to be in the second group, the 21-day guide in the pinned comment gives you a clear step-by-step process aligned with your sign. This isn't about waiting. It's about moving. Decision 7. The seventh decision arriving for Cancer this week is the decision about forgiveness. Not of another person, though that may be part of it, but of yourself. This is one of the deepest and most quietly significant decisions you will ever make. And for many of you, the timing of this week is bringing something old and tender to the surface. Cancer carries things. You carry old hurts, old words that were said to you, old moments where you made a choice that did not turn out the way you hoped. And sometimes, more often than people see from the outside, you carry guilt and self-blame for things that were never fully within your control. You go back over past conversations, past decisions, past moments, wondering if you could have handled them differently. And while that kind of reflection can sometimes lead to real insight and growth, it can also, when it runs unchecked, keep you locked in a version of the past that prevents you from fully inhabiting the present. The decision this week is to begin, not necessarily to complete, but to genuinely begin the process of releasing yourself from that locked place. To look at one specific thing you have been holding against yourself and to say clearly and honestly, I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. And even if the best I could do was not perfect, it was still the best I had. And I am allowed to move forward from that. This is not easy. For Cancer, self-forgiveness can feel harder than forgiving others, because your emotional standards for yourself are often higher than your standards for anyone else. But this week, something is asking you to turn the same gentleness you give to the people you love, toward yourself. Just once. Just in one specific place. and see what shifts. Decision 8. The eighth decision is about a goal or a dream, something you want, something you have imagined for yourself, and the specific question of whether you are going to take one real, concrete step toward it this week or continue to leave it in the realm of possibility rather than action. This decision is not about having all the answers or having a complete plan. The decision is simply about whether you are going to take one step, however small, towards something that matters to you. Cancer dreams deeply and privately. Your hopes for your life are real and vivid and important to you. But there is often a gap between the dream and the first action, and that gap can grow over time if you allow comfort, fear, or the weight of other responsibilities to keep filling it. This week, you are being nudged towards something specific, a step you have known you need to take, but have been postponing for reasons that will sound more convincing tomorrow than they do today. The step does not have to be large. Could be making one phone call, writing one page, researching one option, reaching out to one person. The size of the step is not what matters. What matters is that it is real, that it is in the direction of something you actually want, and that you choose to take it this week rather than next week or some undefined future week when conditions feel more ideal. Conditions rarely feel ideal, Cancer. But the step taken in imperfect conditions is worth 100 steps you planned in theory but never took in practice. This week, take the step. Decision 9. The ninth decision Cancer will face this week is about what kind of person you want to be in the company of others, specifically, how you want to show up in the social spaces of your life that have lately felt either draining, complicated, or simply less aligned with who you are becoming. There may be a group, a gathering, a social dynamic where you have been playing a role that no longer fits you, where you show up as an older version of yourself, quieter, smaller, less honest, less fully present, because that is the version the group seems to expect. This week, something will happen in one of these spaces that makes the misalignment feel undeniable. A conversation that leaves you feeling invisible. A moment where you hold back something true because the room does not seem safe for it. A gathering that ends and leaves you feeling more alone than when you arrived. And in that moment, the decision arrives. Do you continue to shape yourself to fit the space? Or do you begin to ask whether the space still fits you? This is not about drama or abrupt exits. It is about a quiet, internal honesty, the kind that begins with simply acknowledging to yourself that something has shifted, that you have grown, and that growth sometimes means some spaces no longer belong to your life the way they once did. And from that honesty, you can make a gentle, clear, self-respecting decision about how you want to invest your social energy going forward. Decision 10. The 10th decision arriving for Cancer this week is about trust. Specifically, about whether you are going to allow yourself to trust something or someone that your heart is drawn toward, but your fear keeps second-guessing. Trust is one of Cancer's most complex territories. You are deeply intuitive, which means you pick up on subtle signals and can often sense when something is off before there is any visible evidence. That gift has protected you many times. But sometimes, and this week may be one of those times, the fear and the intuition get tangled together, and what feels like a warning is actually a habit. The habit of bracing for disappointment before it arrives. The habit of keeping something or someone at a slight distance because getting fully close feels too vulnerable. The habit of waiting for proof rather than allowing trust to be part of what builds the proof. This week, you are being asked to examine one specific area where fear and trust are in tension, to feel clearly which voice is speaking, the genuine signal of your deep intuition, or the protective noise of old wounds. And if, when you feel it honestly, you find that what is holding you back is old pain rather than present truth, then the decision is to take one small step toward trust. Not a blind leap, not abandoning your discernment, just one intentional step toward letting something good get closer. Cancer, you deserve the beautiful things your heart is drawn toward. You deserve to let them in. This week, trust can be a decision, not a feeling you wait for, but a choice you make. Decision 11. The 11th and final decision that Cancer is being pushed to make in the next 7 days is perhaps the quietest and the most profound of all. It is the decision about your relationship with your own inner life, with the voice that speaks in the still moments, with the knowing that arrives before logic explains it, with the deep, steady, ancient wisdom that lives somewhere below your thoughts and your feelings and your daily concerns. The decision is whether you are going to give that voice more of your time, your attention, and your trust. Cancer is ruled by the energy of the moon, and this is not just poetry. It speaks to something real about your nature. You are cyclical, intuitive, deeply interior. You have an inner compass that is remarkably accurate when you are quiet enough to hear it. But the noise of modern life, the weight of responsibilities, the pull of other people's needs and dramas, can slowly separate you from that inner compass until you are navigating entirely by the external world and feeling lost in a way you cannot quite name. This week, you are being asked to make time, even just a few minutes each day, to be still, to sit with yourself, to let the noise settle, not to solve anything, not to plan anything, not to check anything, just to be present with your own inner world and listen to what is there. Some of what you find there will be tender, some of it will be surprising, some of it will be exactly the clarity you have been looking for in all the wrong places. This is the deepest decision of the 11 because it is the one that supports all the others. When you are connected to your own truth, the other 10 decisions become clearer. When you know yourself, you know where your energy belongs, what your body needs, who deserves your trust, and what step to take next. The inner life is not separate from the outer life, Cancer. It is the source of it. You have two options after this video. Close it and hope things shift, or decide that the next 21 days will be different. If you choose the second, the structured 21-day transformation aligned with your sign is waiting in the pinned comment. The energy is already moving, the only question is whether you are. All 11 of these decisions are pointing in the same direction. They are asking you to come back to yourself, to live more fully, more honestly, and more intentionally from your own truth. None of these decisions require perfection. None of them demand that you have everything figured out. They only ask that you show up, that you be willing to feel what is real, and that you take one step at a time toward the life your soul is quietly and persistently reaching for. This is your week, Cancer. These are your decisions, and you are more ready for them than you know.